Recording. Yeah, it's just me.
I'm gonna close the door.
I'm gonna vacuum.
I'm gonna listen to a board meeting.
Oh.
Is that
I
okay?
won't vacuum.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's.
Monitor.
Make sure I do.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to call this Tuesday, June 8th, special joint city council and school board meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Welcome, everyone, and I'd like to start. Would all please rise for a short private invocation, asking for God's blessing upon this city and upon the school district, and for wisdom as we make decisions that affect this community. Now, if you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. So item 1D tonight is a roll call, and I'll note for the record that all of the school board is present, and I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for hosting this meeting tonight. We have Councilman Angel Garza with us. We have another council person who's running a little bit late. Hopefully they'll come in a little bit later. I also have with me our police chief, Phil Shank, our city engineer, Sean O'Brien, our grant writer, Talia Lemus, and my city clerk, Tanya Morelos. So let's move to item 2, the approval of our agenda tonight. Entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I move we approve tonight's agenda.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving to item 3 is our consent agenda. The only item on the consent agenda is the approval of those minutes from our last meeting, February 9th. Entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second. Again, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving to our current business, I want to welcome everyone again. It's been February 9th since we last met, and we're pretty excited about this opportunity to share again and update each other on what's happening in the city and what's happening in the school district. So with that, I'd like to go around the room, and we'll start with Chief Shank. Say a few words about yourself and what's been going on with you.
So as the mayor said, my name is Phil Shank and I'm the police chief. I wanted to thank the school board for the partnerships that we have with the police department and the schools. Without you guys' help, we wouldn't have the 2 school resource officers that we have in the schools. I think we're making our schools definitely a safer place. Some of the things that are going on, part of our grant requirement, and actually Aaron Garza, I mean, it kind of sucks to be him, but he has to go to Florida this summer to go to the national SRO convention. That was part of the grant requirements. But one of the other things that I think everybody's been kind of interested in, and we were not sure at first what the principals and the teachers would think, but we're hearing more and more that our elementary schools want DARE back. So we are sending both of our SROs to the DARE school this fall. It'll actually be September. So we'll be prepared to start providing DARE in our schools. So as principals and teachers want that to happen, we're going to make that happen. So it's not something we're going to force. If it's wanted, we'll provide it. And then the final thing I wanted to talk about was, and I don't know how much the school board knows about the criminal justice class that we're teaching at the high school, but it is absolutely a kick. We've generally had 20 6 to 31 kids in the class. This year, we have 26 in person split. Now, Amy Harris, I don't see her here, but she did something amazing this year and got it aligned with Big Ben's curriculum. And it is now a criminal justice 101 class, and they get 5 free college credits without having to pay any of it. That's awesome. And then, so I went into Amy's, but it takes a lot of work. So earlier this year, I went into Amy's office and I said, listen, I need to cut back. We're too busy. It's like, so, and I went in to tell her I was only going to offer to teach it once next year. She says, well, that's kind of the pitch. We have 67 kids signed up. We're teaching it twice. So we got some great things going on. We couldn't do it without partnerships between the city and the district. And I just want to say thank you.
Y'all know me, Angel Garza, Othello City Councilman, developer, builder here in Othello. Glad to be here.
My name is Sean O'Brien. I'm the city engineer, and talk about some of the projects we have moving forward at this time and here in the near future. And always available if you have any questions about city projects in the future. Feel free to contact me.
So Talia Rives, the grant writer administrator for the city of Othello. And the mayor's gonna be going over quite a bit of projects that we are currently undergoing at the city. And it's really exciting to be part of those projects and definitely administering and finding funding opportunities for all of those projects. There's lots of really exciting things coming to Othello, and it would be really great to have partnership with the school district as we move forward. So thank you.
I'm not part of the city, but I'm Greg Foltz, part of the Othello School District, project management director and safety director and custodial director, and glad to be here.
Banner Villarreal, I'm the executive director of HR. I'm Gina Bolus and currently operating as an operational consultant and assisting the district in a variety of areas.
I'm Tanya Morelos. I'm the city clerk, and I'm here to help and facilitate this meeting tonight.
Hi, I'm Jessica Gonzalez, and I'm the executive assistant.
Good evening. I'm Pete Perez, interim superintendent for the Othello School District. I'll be sharing an update about several priorities and projects that we have going in the district in just a few moments.
I am Mike Garza, the school board president. And I just want to say, I want to congratulate all of us in this room. It is imperative that this collaboration continue. I am glad it commenced. I don't know if it was a brainstorm of Jen and the mayor, however it came across. It's like Talia said, it is imperative that this collaboration continues going forward. Whether we see it this way or not, we are intricately involved in both of our areas, and this dialogue is essential, I think. So I'm glad to be here tonight.
Ken Johnson.
Ken, before Consuelo, what's your last name? Consuelo Lanilla, she is our new student rep, and when we started, I forgot to, this is like a very informal introduction, but we just voted her on and want to welcome her to the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, Ken Johnson, school board member, and I am very glad that we're meeting this way. I say I've been on both sides of the table now, and it's always good when we can collaborate together.
Sharon Schutte, I'm school board member, and I'm so excited Bear's coming back. It's a super program. So I think working together, both city and school, we'll get something really great going out there for our kids. Thank you.
Jen Stevenson, I am the vice president of the school board. Help to start the collaboration on this.
I'm Lindsay Prouse, and I'm thrilled to be doing this collaboration together. I think our kids are at the forefront of our intentions and your intentions of building our community, and that's in the future generation. So I'm really excited to be doing this and hope that we can have a great partnership, like Talia said, and move forward and do really great things for our kids. So thank you guys for being here and willing to work with us on this. I appreciate it.
I'm Gonzalo and yeah, I'm the student rep. I'm happy to be here and to be able to participate in that safety.
Gina, you're last.
I'm Gina Doro, City Council, and just happy to be here to help.
All right, thank you. With that, now I'd like to move to item 4B on our agenda, and that's the school updates presentation. The city is really looking forward to what the school has planned. I know that's been kind of quite an unusual year, and so which requires more planning. And we understand that you guys have a presentation, and we'd like to listen and participate if we could.
All right, I appreciate that, Mayor Logan. I have a series of slides to share with you. Much of the content will be, I think, the conversation that we engage in, but the slides will be a good reference for us. Just in the interest of maintaining engagement and attention, I imagine this will take between 10 and 12 minutes. Inserted 4 opportunities for a check for understanding along the way, so that you can certainly ask questions and we can engage in a dialogue. I'll be talking about 4 components tonight, the interim superintendency, so my role, the fall school update, and then long-range facility planning. Also at the end, would like to offer a visual of perhaps the way that the work connects from teaching and learning in the Othello School District and the city of Othello. So just a little bit about me. I wanted to share really 3 components to introduce myself to some of you who I've known for many years and others who are new to me. But in this role in the interim superintendency, which is, we've agreed to a term of 15 months, so we're about 3 months into the project. I've wanted to share with you my core values, really what I believe in, and they are focused on people, systems, and excellence. I really think any really good organization starts with the people that you have. And so that's an important one for me. And then how you think about systems to provide excellent outcomes, if it's a business that you own or a city that you're running. I've been in the Othello School District for about 25 years. I was an elementary school teacher, a secondary teacher, an assistant principal, a principal, and then I've been here at the central office now for 5 years. Around professional learning for me, for those of you who are WSU Cougar fans, I earned my principal certification and superintendent certification in the state of Washington through WSU. Just recently became a doctoral candidate for my EDD through Washington State University, and so I'll defend my dissertation proposal on June 28th. And if I get through that, hopefully in the next 9 months, I'll be Dr. Perez. And so I'm hopeful that that will happen, fingers crossed. I will be studying and have been studying principal and teacher efficacy and the idea of how feedback influences the work that we do. And so this is the way that I think about the work in an opportunity to introduce myself to the system. It's really what I think is important. This is called feedback flow, that we think about these arrows. And so as an organization that we get feedback from our principals to think about what we should learn about next. Where does the city fit into this? I think it's really in this area, which is what kind of students are we putting out of the Othello School District? I know some of you have had children graduate from our system recently. Is that a good product? Are those kids we should be proud of? Are they good citizens? Are they going to make Othello a better place? That's the kind of feedback we need from the students that leave the Othello School District, that become taxpayers and members of our community. I just wanted you to know how I think about the work. Lastly, around my own goals with the school board as we develop a governance team, it's really, these are some leadership goals for me, to provide a seamless transition during this leadership transition over the next 15 months, to really support the school buildings, because that's where the work really matters, with the interactions between the teachers and the students, and then to build the capacity of others so that the system feels stable, regardless of who's the superintendent, who's the building principal, who the teachers are. That the systems are so strong and sustainable that we can have good outcomes long-term for our students. So I just provide an opportunity for any questions or comments or observations for me about that one component about the interim superintendency.
I just want to say that we're wishing you the best on your defending your dissertation, because we'd like to see Dr. Perez around here.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey, so I'm hopeful that it will turn out the way it'll be what it's supposed to be. So thank you for that. The next component is really around what's going to happen in the fall. This is what many folks want to talk about. So I think really 3 important things for you all to know: that we need to be back better than before. There are some really key learnings that we had about interacting with students through online platforms, ways to communicate with parents more effectively, really listening from our students to determine what really mattered to them, the office hour idea, really checking in with our teachers in a virtual world. We plan to be back, every student in every classroom every day, 100% operational, everybody's there, and really being focused with some intensity around instruction to address the missed learning. We're not talking about it in the way of learning gaps or deficit thinking about our kids. They weren't in the classrooms. They didn't have an opportunity to learn, and that's not on them. So what the state of Washington required is that House Bill 1368 required that the school district submit a plan by June 1st, indicating how we're going to address student well-being and this idea about missed learning, determining diagnostic assessments, identifying which students have the most significant learning gaps, and then what kind of instruction are you going to provide to deal with those concerns. We've met that standard. We've submitted our plan. It's been shared with the board about a month ago. Community has had an opportunity to provide comment on it, and we're confident that that our teachers and principals are ready to do that work in the fall. So we fully expect to be back full bore in the fall. Oftentimes when I talk about the work in this way, people do have questions about the logistics. So again, we welcome any questions about what we expect to do in the fall.
I think the concept of the missed learning is in the school board meeting that challenge head on. That's admirable. I think it's going to take a little while to recover from this last year, especially in the learning environment. But I think that with the challenges, you have good staff here, you have good teachers here, and I will say that you just hired an excellent new teacher, my brother-in-law. He decided to move here from Dallas, Oregon, Matt Lanu. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see how you guys meet these challenges, and I think you have a great plan to address it. So, yeah.
Appreciate that. We're excited to be back to business next year, and our teachers and our kids really are excited about that. The next piece of the presentation is around long-range facility planning, and this is work that's being led by Greg Foltz and Gina Bullis, and certainly they are present if you have specific questions that I may have a full answer on. But this idea about a phased approach to what we're going to do as it relates to facilities. And I'm sure that the city engages in this long-term planning related to roads and progress, and making sure that you're mindful of helping the city grow in a healthy way. And really, we're thinking about that as a school district as well. A mental model that has been developed to share this thinking that I think is maybe more appropriate for the next part of the conversation is these phases. So in May and June and then into July, really thinking about and synthesizing the data. Over the last 3 or 4 years, there's been a lot of work by people outside of the district, community stakeholders, and by people in the district to put together a plan for facilities. Greg and Gina are leading the work about synthesizing that data, thinking about enrollment projections, utilization analysis, bond capacity, all those questions that we need to answer internally, so that we can then go to a broader group of stakeholders and identify the goals and the priorities for the system. What are really the needs and wants of our teachers and then of our community? We expect that as we refine that facility plan into the fall, into August and September, that we would bring together a group of stakeholders, advisory members, community members, and or business leaders. And so we're thinking about who might be able to leverage and push that work forward so that we can make a recommendation to the school board about what the system needs. And the school board can really think clearly about their priorities, the timing and scope of the work, and putting out a project that's going to pass, that the voters are going to stand behind and support. Because no one can argue that we don't need the facilities, that some of our facilities are crowded. It's a matter of, is the return on that investment worth it to the voters? And so we're thinking really carefully about that, and we're hopeful that if we put together a solid, coherent plan, that the community will support those ideas. And I think all along we will look for opportunities to partner with the city about what does a new school mean to the community of Othello, and what role do you all play in that? But that mountain to climb, I think the mental model is excellent, and the timing is quick, and we feel excited about it, but it's going to be quite a journey to make sure we can get something passed. So any questions or comments about our long-term facility planning?
I just think
when you come to the community, I'm trying to communicate this the way it's in my mind, but you all have a school mindset. And so, I mean, your school board, I mean, education is your business. But education isn't the business of the entire community. And so one of the things that we found as we went over and over and over our grant applications is there was things that we didn't understand the way that other people looked at what we were trying to do. Some people are never going to want to spend more money on education that are in this community. That's a fact. But I think that as you are putting together these plans and these ideas, just make sure that it isn't all from the educational point of view, that you get other points of view. I'm not going to give you any examples, but people who are not part of education, and they will give you keys to how you're going to get this passed. And you just need to listen, and they'll tell you what they want. And now, the problem then is balancing that with they don't really understand the education and putting together a facility and all of that, but they're going to vote for it for their own reasons, not necessarily for your reasons.
Yeah, understood. And I think that's good feedback and good counsel for the board as they determine what, certainly from our perspective, I think operationally is to consider those things and to provide recommendation to them from a teaching and learning perspective, but also be mindful of what can the community tolerate? What are they interested in supporting? And so I know that they've been thinking about it in that way. Certainly Greg and Gina have as well, but that's a good reminder for us. And so we appreciate that feedback.
Can I say something, Pete?
Yeah.
I just want to add that what's really important when we get ready to go to bond is that we have support from people like Angel Garza and the Doro family, people in the community that can get behind what we're trying to do and have a loud voice and are impactful in the community, our mayor, things like that, that can really help us get the message out to maybe people who don't know why we need a new school or anything like that. So I know that that's another reason why I appreciate this collaboration, is because we need voices in the community that aren't part of the school to say, let's do this for our kids. Let's get them a new school. Let's get more teachers, all of that kind of stuff. So.
I think that's an excellent transition to what will be the final slide, and that's this profile of an OSD graduate that we're working on. And so it really, as I thought about this evening, why the Othello School District in the city, what's the relevance of you all taking your time to get together and discuss these kinds of topics? And it really, I think, is grounded in that good communities are a result of good citizens, which are the result of good schools. And so our work is intertwined. If you want to make Othello the best community that it can be, you need to guarantee that we have really highly skilled teachers and really, really good schools. And so our work, it supports one another. And so I think it's important that we get together and collaborate and talk about that. Related to this work, this is new work in the school district. It's actually been sort of happening in the background for about 2 years, but we're at the point now where we want to put it in front of folks to get some feedback, put it in front of groups like this. We've invited some community members to come in on Thursday to have an interview about just this visual and really to say to folks, if your student graduated from the Othello School District and they demonstrated the disposition that they were a learner, that they were an effective communicator and a critical thinker, and they could collaborate and work with others and advocate for what was best for them and their family and their community, would you be proud of that kid? Would you want your kid to behave in that way? We happen to believe that those are great attributes and we want every kid to leave our system with those skills. And so we're working in that way rather than always, so it gets back to the mayor's point about how you talk to people who aren't educators. Do I want to talk to you all about Dibble scores or the ELPA test or the Smarter Balanced Assessment? Or do I want to sit down with you and say, of the top 10 kids that graduated from our high school, I can tell you that they're all critical thinkers and here's why. I can tell you if you hired them, they'd be excellent collaborators. And I can tell you if you interviewed them for 5 minutes, you would see how skilled they are as communicators because we provided these opportunities in our school district. We see this as a partnership to the benchmark data, the numbers of school districts, and a more, I think, efficient way to talk with community stakeholders about the kinds of kids that come out of our system. So I think this is right in alignment with what you're saying. Speak the language of the people who, live and work in your community who aren't educators. And so we're trying to be mindful of that and think of that in this way. But we really think this is powerful work connected with the other benchmarks we're going to share with the board. And so again, that was my last slide, but really it was a good reminder for me to say, this is worth our time and energy. Because when you go to buy a house, when you're looking to buy property, when you're looking on those realty sites, it's the school ratings pop up. What are the schools like? You drive the neighborhood and you talk to people and say, I want to move here because the schools are like this. It's an important factor for families and for those of us who stay in the community, for our grandkids, right? Things that we really want to think about. And so we appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about our story and where we're headed with the Othello School District.
City Council or staff, you guys have any comments? Okay. Now, let's move to item 4C, which is an update on city projects. We have a presentation for the school. Stand over here. So we've been busy and we're excited to share some of this. Some of this you've heard, some of this is new information for you from our last meeting. And we've been busy at the city too in working to make Othello better for everyone, but especially the youth of this community. And we're going to start off with the first slide. The 2021 legislature convened for a 105-day session, and the city of Othello is pleased that we've successfully advanced our legislative priorities to include funding for the water conservation utility project. It's fancy word for the irrigation system, and the Lions Park grants. These successes would not have been possible without an active and supportive legislative delegation. And I just want to give a shout out to Rep. Joe Schmick, Rep. Mary Dye, and Senator Mark Schessler. The city of Othello applied for 3 competitive recreation and conservation office grants. All 3 were awarded to the city. And the final capital budget included the necessary funding for all 3 of Othello's projects to receive these grants, totaling $1.35 million of state investment towards Lions Park. Here you can see that the city of Othello was ranked 3rd out of 80 cities in the state of Washington for the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program. And that grant totaled $500,000 for Pride Rock Playground. On this next slide, you can see that the city of Othello ranked number 2 out of 23 cities for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, totaling another $500,000 for more funding towards the Pride Rock Playground. City staff and consultants are very proud of the work that helped us reach these rankings and are excited to get to work on these projects. When the governor signed the budget here several weeks ago, we got funded. I wasn't going to announce it as final until he actually signed the budget because I wasn't sure if he was going to call a special session. He took the full amount of time, that he was allotted from the time the legislature ended before he actually signed it, which made me a little nervous. But we're pleased to see that he did sign the budget, and that means that these improvements are coming to the city of Othello. This next slide is a question about what the future of Lions Park is. So we would like to invite the school board and our local community members to join us tomorrow, June 9th, from 4 to 8 p.m. as we're seeking input for the equipment and the playground equipment that will be placed at our newly designed Pride Rock Playground. The goal of the city is to provide an all-inclusive playground that will benefit the community as a whole, with a vision of a complete redesigned, reimagined playground, removing the gravel ground surface, adding ADA accessible playground equipment, trees, picnic tables, and benches that will provide an entertaining environment for families to come back generation after generation. So we're inviting you. We're having that open house tomorrow. We're going to take input. We have a playground to design. We need your help.
Where is that location at? You said from 4 to 8 tomorrow, but.
At City Hall, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yet another success for the city of Othello was placing first for the Youth Athletic Facilities Program, which will fund the redesign and construction of the Lions Park basketball dream courts. You can see, we go back. All of these are competitive grants, and we are competing against all of the other cities that were applying in the state of Washington. In this particular instance, there was 23. In the other instance, the first one we took third. There was 80 cities that we took third out of, and the other one we took second. There was, I don't remember how many was in that one, 30 some.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes.
How do they determine if you're ranked first or not? Is that because you have a really great grant writer? Or is that because Othello fits like the certain amount of check boxes that they need as far as like low income, a myriad of different things? Yes, it is a myriad of different things. They have a board. The RCO has a board, and each one of these are a different board. The Youth Athletic Facilities is a grant that isn't done with a presentation. We have to submit that one in writing. The other two, the Land and Water Conservation is a board through the state, and they're looking for particular things that we, first of all, they want to see that what's this for? How is the public going to use it? What are your demographics? So we've checked a lot of boxes, obviously, compared to other cities in the state. I remember on our application here for the Youth Athletic Facilities, we added in an opening statement. That opening statement was, Othello is teeming with life, young lives, that is. And that was our opening statement on our application. And this is a Youth Athletic Facilities grant. They like that opening statement, and the rest of our application demonstrated how Othello, with its high youth population, this was a good investment. They agreed.
Also, can you see the rank? You see the rank on the left, and then the very next one is score. And so all of those different participants in those boards give each of those applications a score. And and it ranks according to those scores. Having done lovely state grants, those are so competitive and sometimes 100-page applications, right? Depending on the application. Every little tiny, even you can see some of them are tied, and some of them are off by 0.1 point, and that could just decimate your report, how much money is.
It's a good observation. Thank you. Let's talk about the dream courts. Basketball dream courts are going to be the first of their kind in the state of Washington. Existing basketball courts will be replaced with a new layout that will mirror the Lions Park baseball complex. This redesigned layout is going to change the way people think about basketball in this community. Youth, adults, and basketball enthusiasts from everywhere will come to play basketball in leagues and tournaments, bringing much desired tourism to the city of Othello. Thanks to our city engineer, Sean O'Brien, and our new grant writer, Aaliyah Lemus, we couldn't stop there. Through an innovative approach, they were successful in obtaining a $275,000 quad-quote connectivity trail grant for Lions Park. This will enhance people's experience when they come. These improvements include adding sidewalk from Main and 11th up to Pine Street, and a new concrete stamp trails throughout Lions Park that will allow for two-way traffic. We're committed to creating opportunities for a healthier Othello. 38% of Othello's population is age 18 and under, and it's crucial that we continue to invest in our youth. When all these improvements are made, we believe Lions Park is going to be one of the most popular parks in all of Eastern Washington. So in our master park plan, this is the swimming pool here. This is where we'll lay out the basketball courts. This will be the new Pride Rock playground. These are the connectivity trails that go through it. This is where we just recently did our upgrade to the playground or to the playing surfaces at the baseball fields. And what I'm really excited about is we left a little bit of room right here, because at some point I want to put a splash pad in there. They're big. People love them. Kids love them. Big kids love them, like me. And I won't be satisfied until we put something up that's like has water cannons, like they have at Silverwood. And I don't know if you guys ever been on the bumper boats. The guys up on above, they get the quarters and the big cannon, and the guys in the bumper boats get the little squirt gun. But those water cannons and other things, I just think that the kids in this town would eat it up, and I think the families and parents. I'm looking at Gina. I remember when our kids were little, and that was the first time I met Gina and her husband, and we were at Lions Park. And to think of all the change that's coming to Lions Park, you know, her kids are going to be able to play on those kind of things. So we're excited about that.
Mayor Logan, before you go off of the slide, are you done?
I am.
Okay. I love that you have a pathway. Did you say that's from Pine to Pine?
From Main Street to, let's see, up, I think it's up. Yeah, up to Pine, which is here, is this street.
Sorry, I mean over by where the trees are.
These trees.
Go left, right there, right where you're at.
The tree lines.
Students from Hiawatha that leave Hiawatha and have to walk to Lions Park Apartments.
Mhm.
In the snow, go right through that area. And I love that you have a pathway now there, and for safety and so many other things for those students that sometimes just concerns about when it's deep, how they're getting through there, and knowing that they're probably going home to no parents being at home. Talia had told me about this before, and I think that I love all of the wider pathways. That's gonna be wonderful. That pathway for our students and for safety is hugely key.
Thank you.
When submitting this application, I did request a letter of support from the school district, so thank you for that. It was a good application, and as you can see, we were successful. So thank you.
I have two questions, Mayor.
Yes,
Are the tennis courts staying?
tennis courts are staying.
Okay. And my other question is, those circle things that are all around the basketball courts and on the playground, are those trees or?
Those
like
are
umbrellas?
trees.
Okay.
Yeah, these are all trees. You guys just reminded me of something. One of the things that we got early on when we were first putting together the applications for this is that we were going to get a fully accessible playground, or not fully accessible, I shouldn't use that terminology, but an accessible playground. These are kids age 2 to 5 and then 5 to 12. One of the things that we're looking at, we need input from the handicapped kids in the school district, ones that are wheelchair bound, parents. We would like them to come, we'd like them to tell us, because I remember seeing one of the posts that said, when you get ready to build this, let us know, because we'll tell you what's accessible and what's not. We've been to playgrounds that they said were accessible, but they weren't accessible. And we want to make sure that we're inclusive in that way. So.
One other question, are you, I mean, it doesn't look like it on the map. Are you touching the arboretum?
Right now, no.
Okay. And are you touching the huge pine trees on both far sides of the baseball diamonds?
This little row,
Yes, and the one that is on 7th.
we're not touching those. I don't believe we're touching these, are we, Sean? No. Okay. And then I said not at the moment. No, we don't have any plans to change any of the trees in the project. This town doesn't have enough trees. And so all we do is cut trees down.
Thank you, yes.
And so,
Please don't cut more
and
trees.
we need more trees. That playground right now has one big tree, probably about right here. And that's the only tree. So if you're parents and you're taking your kids out there, there's no shade. We needed shade. So yeah, we're trying to think of everything. And this input is good. So keep it coming. Next exciting thing is this farmers market concept. We last met in February. We talked about the city was looking to develop and construct an indoor/outdoor farmers market and food incubator at the Vista building there by Pioneer Park. Like all good projects, however, sometimes unexpected circumstances overtake you. And so plans need to develop around those unforeseen circumstances. And that happens to be on this project as well. We were informed that the procurement of the Vista building is approximately 3 to 5 years out. And we have built all this momentum, talked to all these vendors and potential people that wanted to be a part of this farmers market, and we didn't want to let it die. So I've just shared with you all the exciting plans we have for Lions Park. So in total, Lions Park currently has more than 11 activities that attract tourism to our location. So when you look at the planned improvements and you focus on Lions Park, it occurred to us that maybe Othello's Farmers Market should be located right in the center of our renewed focus. 2 pictures at the bottom of the slide show a food incubator / marketplace called The Yard, located in Salem, Oregon. This marketplace includes a large indoor gathering space for families to dine after receiving their meals from one of the various food trucks located outdoors. They have a nice little coffee shop, and they include other amenities such as restroom and picnic tables and et cetera. This is the type of facility that we're considering. One idea that the city is looking at is to place at a minimum of 5 food trucks outside of the indoor gathering space that will serve as a commercial kitchen for local entrepreneurs who have a goal to become food vendors, while the indoor gathering space can be used for meetings, events, and other gatherings. The farmers market concept is another topic we would love to discuss with you and local community members tomorrow night during our open house. Now I'm going to turn the next part of this presentation to my co-presenter, Sean, city attorney. I told you that before, didn't I? I didn't know he had an engineering and an attorney's or a law degree, but he does have an engineering degree. Here's Sean.
Thank you, Mayor. The city currently has a couple of safety projects that are using traffic calming measures to improve pedestrian safety. One is on Main Street, which I'm sure you have seen taking place. The concrete work has been completed, and it will be a pedestrian signal installation. Those poles should be scheduled to be shipped out this Friday and we hope to have those installed here within the next month or so. And that will address a lot of the pedestrians of the high school at lunch times, and also just right there in the center of town. Second project is one that we're actually, so I guess the Main Street project is funded with a federal safety grant that is covering 100% of the construction work. And so hopefully will be within a month or so. The next project is one that we're actually, it's a Safe Routes to School grant, which we are, Safe Routes grant is covering 92% of the project, and the school district and the city have split the additional 8%. This project includes 30 ball routes, mostly on Ash Street, but also a few that are on 7th Avenue and also on 14th Avenue. This project went out to bid, and we had a bid opening in May, but we only received one bid, and it was quite a bit higher than the engineer's estimate. So because it was not going to be covered by the grant money, was not going to cover the entire project, we rejected the bids, and we have been working with the DOT to see what they will let us do to revise the design. We're trimming it down, and where we originally had 8-foot ball valves coming out on each side of the street, which would narrow the asphalt that the pedestrians have to cross, is going to reduce from 40 feet down to 24 feet. We're actually going to reduce it to 28 feet now, and do some other things on the approaches and whatnot, so that the quantities will be less. We have talked to additional contractors. We did not bid on it the first time. They were plant holders. Several were plant holders, and I think we've got some assurances that if we put this back out to bid, we will get more bidders, which competition will help with the prices also. Right now, I'm waiting on city council to actually give us approval to go out to bid, back up to bid, and the ball bouts have had some questions, but the school district is still in support of moving ball bouts and doing these improvements to help the safety for the pedestrians, the school children going from and to school, and also the neighborhood.
So this is page 2, right? This is not your new reduced number.
We're doing the same 30 ball bouts are included.
Okay.
We're just reducing them from 8-foot ball bouts to 6-foot, and then also shortening up the approaches.
Okay.
So, next slide. Another project that we've just recently had a bid opening for. Right now it's scheduled to start on July 17th. Is a chip sealing project. All those streets that are highlighted are going to get different levels of chip sealing done to them. So the roads that are in bad worse shape will get a double chip, which will give structural integrity. And then some streets will get full width. And these streets we're just going to focus on the travel lanes, the center 24 feet of the road to get that resurfaced. And this will be one of the first chip seal projects I think Othello has had in quite a while. But this is a much more cost-effective method of maintaining roads and keeping them beyond repair and having to be rebuilt or constructed.
Can you describe chip seal in layman's terms?
Okay, chip seal, they will go through and they'll put a shot of oil on the road and then follow that right behind with a layer of rock. So then they put down more rock than will actually stick to the oil. They'll hit it with rollers, get as much of that in the oil as possible, sweep up the excess rock, and then right now the schedule is the following Monday, they'll come through with a fog seal on all those streets, which after the chip seal process, it'll look a lot like a gravel road, except the gravel will be locked into place and it's embedded in the road. The fog seal will come and it's essentially kind of a coat of paint. It will help block those rocks even better, and it's black, solid black road composition. Is that enough?
I'm assuming that also means the roads will be repainted through that process.
This project is only focusing on residential streets, so there won't, none of them have current striping. So we focus on as many roads as possible. The roads for future projects will focus on materials and factors that have striping on them.
Ken Johnson knows all about this, because he was on street committees and that. When I became mayor 8 years ago, we were working with our former engineering firm. Their desired format was to do a grind and overlay where you ground off certain top part of the street and then overlaid it with new asphalt. But when then you find out that it costs $1 million to go 7 blocks or $1 million, and the city had what, Ken, approximately $200,000 a year put into its street fund to continue to do projects. And I've driven down 12th Avenue from 7th to Main Street down to Ash on 12th Avenue, which is a horrible street. And this street here, which is that Spruce, that's Spruce. I mean, it's just horrible. And, you know, I'm the mayor of Othello, meaning I have standards too. And when I would see that and I drive down the street, and when we drive down here in areas of 2nd Avenue and Pine Street, it was horrible. I mean, it was like, I didn't want to drive on those streets. I think I'll go another way. And maybe that's a traffic calming, but it wasn't acceptable. And so when Sean became our engineer, that was one of the first things that I talked to him about was, what can we do here? And so he laid out a plan. And what you're seeing now, for the first time probably in the history of Othello, is this many streets being addressed throughout the community, that at least you're going to have a decent surface to drive upon. And that was really critical of the city council, completely behind that. And so anyway, that was just a little background.
Is the dark blue the launch that is up for 8th Avenue? What is the full?
So 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue are blue, and then 12th Avenue is a combination of the orange and blue.
Okay. The 14th is the one over using that. Okay, neither is cemetery. Okay.
Correct.
Or is that yellow? Is that Catalpa?
Yellow is Catalpa, Fern, 15th and 16th. So the yellow is doing a full width, so it'll go from all the way from curb to curb. And as that, those roads are a little rougher shape. Blue are streets that are kind of the time frame where they should be scheduled for a chip seal right now. They haven't went beyond their prime, and so we're focusing just on the travel surface.
So the shades of blue don't really mean anything. There's some that are lighter shades. They're all just blue, right?
They're all just blue. The lighter shades up there on Rainier and Desdemona, or not Desdemona.
Out there at the top right.
Elsinore. Those were streets that we included as an additive. If the budget, if it's came low enough, we added those streets up in that area. And, so those will be included.
Thank you.
So this project is happening at our well 8 location out on Deep Road, just on the other side of the canal, here 14th Avenue. And this is one of the first of its kind projects. We are taking canal water out of the EL 68 canal. We are sending it through an elaborate filter system that's located in that semi-truck trailer out on site. It is filtering into drinking water standards, and then we're actually injecting it down into the aquifer. So the well's about 800 feet deep. So that water is going down there. It's going to be stored there, and we're testing to see if at later time we can pull that water out and if it can help recharge the aquifer and just maintain the existing water levels, because our area is very dependent on groundwater. All of our drinking water currently comes from the groundwater wells, and it's not sustainable. So all the cities in the area, year that water table keeps dropping. We are not pumping any less water, and this is diversifying our source of water. And the hope is that this whole system will show that water gets filtered with drinking water standards. We can actually use this as a source of drinking water system. Let's see a couple of different goals from this project. First, to see how we can affect the groundwater levels, and also see if we can produce a drinking water source. First is kind. A lot of the country filter water out of lakes and rivers, but this is the first one I know of that we're actually using river water, but it's been trapped into man-made channels for quite a few miles. You may have any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Apologize. Mistake I made tonight is I didn't have my community development director come and do this part of the presentation. She should have been here because she's done a wonderful job, Ann Henning. And next time, if we talk about housing and development, she's going to be here. So I think quite a while ago, the city's noticed, and I think all of you have noticed, that we have a housing shortage in Othello. But one of the significant problems that we see by that is that people who have jobs in Othello don't live here. And it doesn't matter whether it's the school districts, the plants, or other major positions within the city. People live somewhere else. A lot of the reason is because we don't have either adequate or affordable or the type of housing that they're looking for. And so those people live elsewhere. Those people also, they take their time, their money, and their talent that they could contribute to this community, and it lives somewhere else. Angel's doing his part to address that, but we needed to understand the problem more and what we could do to solve it. And so the other thing that's happening is we're also trying to remove the red tape that's often associated with development. So we hired a Burke Consulting. They're a consulting group. They conducted a needs assessment, and they're performing a housing action plan. Will you go back? So a needs assessment is a report to identify existing and future housing needs to serve all economic segments of a community. So they do a community profile, a workforce profile, housing inventory, and housing gaps and needs. So in the community profile, who lives here, and they identify who lives in Othello, and what are their household characteristics, who works in Othello under the workforce profile, and what are their incomes. We all know that the housing inventory, we needed to know though what types of housing are available and how much does housing cost in Othello, and where's the gaps? What housing is needed to meet those current and future housing needs? The second part is a housing action plan. This is a non-statutory plan, meaning it's not binding to the local government, but it should include a description of the housing needs for all income levels, assessment of population and employment trends, a review of the current housing policies, strategies to increase the supply and variety of housing, strategies to minimize displacement of residents and participation from stakeholders, and a schedule of implementation of these strategies. So the goal of any such housing plan must be to encourage construction of additional affordable and market rate housing and a greater variety of housing types and at prices that are accessible to a greater variety of incomes, including strategies aimed at the for-profit single-family home market. So there were some findings issues from these, the needs assessment. The first finding is that home ownership is unaffordable for many households and supply is limited. Our second finding was that rental housing costs are rising and options are limited for low and moderate income households. Third, there's a lack of diversity in the housing options available to local households and a misalignment between the size of housing units and the size of the households. Fourth, there's a limited affordable housing options large enough for families with children. And fifth, there's a lack of both permanent and seasonal housing for farm workers, especially for low-income households. So the city is undertaking and has started to undertake and is in the process of working on our zoning and building standards, parking and transportation standards, affordable housing incentives, and process improvements. So we're currently undergoing an exploration of the city's development ordinance to assist developers in helping meet our housing needs. I'm going to finish with this slide. The city's first annual Chalk the Block. SPED students are going to spend, they're not going to spend the whole day, but they're going to spend some time chalking the sidewalks at City Hall. That's going to be in front of City Hall. We're going to have the parking lot coned off. That's this Thursday at 10 o'clock, June 10th. We worked with Heidi Wagner, the Director of Special Education. We wanted to host a fun event for the kids this Thursday. And we bought chalk. We're going to have a approved snack list and drinking list. And we're going to have a lot of fun with the kids. We'll take pictures and we'll make sure that the school district has pictures for their website. We just thought it would be fun. We wanted to be inclusive, and this is the way we thought we could help. School district was, and Heidi and her gang were wonderful. So just wanted to let you guys know that. That concludes our presentation tonight. Did anybody have any further questions? So just really pleased to be able to share our plans with you, the interaction with you, the feedback. It's wonderful.
Timeframe on the basketball courts.
Okay, so we're going through, we haven't even signed the contract yet, but they'll have contracts to us in July, but we're not waiting. We're starting in the process of what kind of design we're going to have. The city's engineering tech is Kurt Carpenter. He is also a landscape architect. He's had experience developing different park facilities in Moses Lake and elsewhere. And so he's going to be the project lead. And we will probably go to bid. We'll have it designed and go to bid sometime January, February, hopefully no later than March next year, so that we can start construction next summer. So with that, that's all we have here at the city. Is there any wrap-up things? Does anybody want to say? Anything you guys would like to see different in this format? I think when we decided to go to about every 3 to 4 months, I don't think we need to meet any more often than that. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
I think it's been, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ken.
There was one thank you I forgot, and that was during the spring sports or the football sports this year, that the city was able to, with the help of Chief Shane, close off Helmont Street to help for the viewing capacity for those games, and that was really nice. I noticed it was done for the graduation. It gave people some alternatives for viewing those things, and who knows, it may be something in the future that can continue during fall sports. As a small block party or something on when football games are there.
Excellent.
I think it would be beneficial. The reason why I think this meeting worked with the date is because we picked it in the past at our last meeting. And so just possibly picking a date 3 to 4 months in the future for our next meeting. So we at least have it on our calendars now instead of trying to pick a date a week or 2 in advance. That never will work. If you've ever looked at all of us trying to pick something at a meeting with our schedules, no.
October 5th. It's a Tuesday night. Do you want to write that down?
6 p.m. still?
6 p.m.
Do you want to keep it here or do you want to go to your, we just have a little bit more room? What is better for you?
Are we still going to take turns hosting the meeting?
Yes, even though it's at our location, I think you guys were actually the
We are, yeah.
host this way. And so, whatever, just so that we have it on everyone's calendars. That's the only thing. Knowing that it could always change.
So Mayor, I think it'd be good to leave it up to you guys since you will be running the meeting. If you guys are comfortable doing it here, or if you'd like to come to city council, I can, council chambers, I can help you there.
President, I think here it is my view, if we're.
And as soon as we're getting closer to the date, we'll work on the agenda. Okay, what's happening 4 months from now?
I like it here.
Give that time to- Sure.
We all have awesome tech too. But make sure it works.
Yeah. You do have awesome tech, and we appreciate that we came here early and Rigo's. And yes, they got it together, so. And we had a few challenges, but that's why we come early. One thing I want to ask the school board, are you willing to, okay, so these bulb outs on Ash Street and 14th Avenue, I think it's an understatement to say that with certain groups in the community, it's controversial. And so the city, not all of the city, but the representatives of the city that are here tonight we look at the bulb outs and the Ash Street and the 14th Avenue as critical for school safety for these kids to, I mean, you've got Luticaga, DOHS, MMS, and Scootney all affected by these bulb outs in this project. Does the school, are you guys in a position where you could write us in the next or by the end of this week, a letter of support for that project?
I think we have no problem with that, but I think it's up to the superintendent and staff to get that out.
Yeah, I guess we would need some clarity on what a letter of support means. Thinking about the seamless transition, what was shared with me was a specific amount that have been agreed to, at least in conversation. We weren't able to find anything that indicated that in fact had happened. But what I heard this evening, it was actually, I think the term was 8%. Certainly different than the amount that was shared. And I think the amount at the time may have well been 8%, if that was reflective of what they anticipated the original bid being. If the original bid is much higher and we had in fact agreed to participate at a particular level, it may no longer be 8%. So I think we'd want to engage in a conversation about whether or not that's appropriate. Certainly the concept of providing safe routes to school for our students is in agreement with what we do. It's a matter of, are we ready to make that determination by Friday? If the city is requesting a particular amount related to that support.
Actually, you want to clarify that, Chandra?
So I think what the mayor is asking for right now is just a letter of support that you actually want the bulb outs to go in. There are some public community members that are you know, anti-bulb outs, don't want any change, don't want anything different.
Could you quickly explain the purpose of a bulb?
Ken, can you talk into your mic? I know that.
What's the added safety features of a bulb out?
Okay,
So we can kind of understand that.
well, the bulb out, our streets are 40 foot wide from face of curb to face of curb. And what the bulb out does is it brings curving out, and instead of having your truncated domes at your curb ramp being back 40 feet away from the other side of the street, by coming out 6 feet, you're closing that gap where the pedestrian is out in the traveled way. And it also helps calm the traffic. So someone who's flying down Ash Street at, possibly over 25 miles per hour, and someone goes out and starts, committing to go out in the street, and the, person, whether it's on their cell phone or just not paying attention, they hopefully will be going slower in the first place. So even if their reaction time is slow, they have a better chance to stop in time. But the pedestrian is only out in the traveled way for 28 feet instead of the full 40 feet of walking.
What is an anti-bulb out? What's the reason for it? What's their problem?
It's mainly that Ash Street has been signed to some degree as kind of an art collector. That, residential streets should be uncontrolled intersections where you're entering every intersection, yielding to the right. A lot of these intersections have had stop signs placed on the side streets, so the person going down Ash has the right of way. They get to, keep on going block after block and don't have to yield to the people on their right. With the bulb outs, a lot of those stop signs will be taken out, and so you'll be traveling slower, entering each intersection, hopefully with more caution, but also if the pedestrians, as before they cross the street, they're actually a little bit more in your peripheral vision. So
I don't really have a against or for, but I have taken a couple of the times I've tried to do the right-hand turn to see. So when you have a longer vehicle and you're swerving around, it has to be a very tight turn that you don't go into the other lane. And that's what I'm concerned about, because I live up there on 14th and the traffic is horrendous. All the way down to CBHA, people run the stop signs. They don't even stop sometimes. Do you think this will stop it enough that you still won't have people, because at the schools you have to turn, people are turning constantly to get in to Wahias and Scootney. That part concerns me, is the part when you're going around it.
correct. Even with the 8-foot bulb outs, the radiuses were built for even a delivery truck to be able to make that turn without going into the oncoming lanes. If you're driving a pickup truck with a trailer behind it, hopefully you're not going through the school zone at the busy times of the day. But with those, you would have to wow out a little bit and possibly go in the oncoming lane if you want to make a right-hand turn. But you don't want to design every intersection for the biggest vehicles that will ever go through that location. And the hope is Ash Street is a residential street. It's being used as a collector. There's people that are not, they're cutting through there because it's the easiest route to go through. We're hoping this will push them to Scootney, which is actually the collector, the next street to the south. Hopefully this will encourage more people to use the street that's built wider and for the larger volumes.
So currently, it sounds like you're planning on taking out the stop signs that are, what is the name of the street that's right in front of McFarland? 10th and Ash right now has four-way stop.
It has a four-way stop. Yes.
Are you had said you're taking out, are you removing that four-way stop when you have bulb outs?
I think the plan is to remove the stop signs on that one, but they may, and that is the one intersection where, it's treated differently than the other intersections.
Okay.
Yielding, having everyone, if you have cars in all four directions and you yield to the car on the right, it should.
That
work
is the
just like
theory,
you
you're
have stop
right,
signs.
you're right. But when you have children that go to multiple schools on that street, I think we've all learned people don't drive the way they're supposed to.
So the plan is to take the stop signs out, but they could be put back in if.
Okay.
But the whole.
If it's deemed necessary, what you're saying is, currently that's the plan. But of course, it will be watched by many. And because I know that was the influence as to why there is a four-way stop there now.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I know for me, I was born and raised in Othello, so sometimes I drive like people in Othello do, like it's the wild, wild west. I have been guilty on Ash of if there's someone trying to go straight into Scootney, I go on the right-hand side of them and turn right, even though there's not a right-hand turn lane. So it will be annoying as a driver to have the bulb outs, but it's probably the right thing to do because I'm not the only person that does that. Especially if there's not cars parked there, we always sneak around on the right to turn on 14th. So you have my support, even though as a driver, I find it annoying, but I think it's the right thing to do.
I think we need to have a discussion. We will try our best to get something to you by the end of the week. But I think this merits us discussing a little more before. It sounds like we're in unison here for the support, but to make it an official document from the district, I think we should have a longer conversation amongst ourselves. We'll do our best to try to get something to you by Friday.
Absolutely.
No offense, but when would that take place? That has to be in an open public meeting.
We've got some stuff right after this, maybe decide that.
Okay, so you're saying after the executive session that we're having? Okay, so it'll still be an open meeting.
No, yes.
Okay, and then we can direct whether the district will be writing this. Whether we'll be asking the district, and all you're asking for is a letter of support, knowing that there's a percentage that you were planning, even though we had always been under the understanding that there was a number that we had agreed to. Right now, you're just asking for a letter of support to say, we support these for the safety of our kids. The numbers will come later.
Well, I've got.
Oh, awesome.
here. So, right now, I think we are looking for a letter of support so the project moves forward and that we can show that the school district is still interested in this project. The 4%, the grant was for a project that would be $858,860. That 8% would be split between the city and the school district. So the 4% that the school district would directly turn into $34,340.40.
That's a much happier number than what I think.
Well, you can always.
Nope, we're good with 4%. We'll keep it there. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. We just want to make sure we clarify what it is we're asking. You're not committing to a dollar figure yet. We just, in the spirit of having worked with the school district since 2017 on this project, this is how long this has been ongoing. We're now getting down to the finish line, and as we just want to show that this is a collaborative effort and that the school district and the most of the city council support this project. That's all we're asking.
So we're not asking for any more than that. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, with that, I'll adjourn this portion of the meeting at 7:21 p.m. Thanks to the staff and the school board. Thank you. And you guys, I heard are going to adjourn into an executive session. Is that correct?
We're not.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's so good.
Hey, guys, we're good with hold up?
Although I will say, I find them very.
It's something new. But it will.
I know.
It's terrible.
So.
I think after a while.
I think you're right.
Is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. At 7:23 p.m. I'd like to call to order the special board meeting of the Othello School District Board of Directors. We will now go into an executive session for about 35 minutes, 25 of which will be to discuss potential real estate purchase or lease, 10 minutes to discuss with legal counsel representing the district litigation. No action will be taken following the executive session, so we will recess into an executive session.